On Thanksgiving morning in 1900, an 18-year-old named Thomas Pedler told his mother that he was going out for a bit. He'd be back in time for turkey that afternoon. Thomas lived in a very working-class neighborhood in San Francisco, California. On this day, the big football game between Stanford University and the University of California was taking place at the stadium, and they were expecting over 20,000 people. Thomas didn't have enough money to buy a ticket, but he knew he would find a way to watch this game, and he waited in front of the front gate. Thomas's very close friend, Charles, the two met up. Their plan was to try to sneak in with the horde of people that were making their way into the stadium. Even though they were still hours away from the opening kickoff of this big game, the stadium was packed. And so they decided, okay, we need to find another way to watch this game. They happened to notice across the street was this group of people rushing over to this big white brick factory building, and they were literally placing ladders up against the sides of this 5-story building. The top of this factory was flat and provided a perfect view down onto the field. Thomas and Charles decide they're going to do that too, and they began climbing up the ladders until finally they made it onto the roof. A couple of hours later, when the game actually started, the rooftop was now completely packed with people. About 20 minutes into the game, a dull cracking sound could be heard coming from one side of this roof, and suddenly the floor underneath Thomas, Charles, and everybody else collapsed. And immediately, people on this roof fell all the way to the bottom of this factory, 55 feet below. Thomas, he falls, but miraculously, he lands on a wooden beam and he grabbed onto it. Charles and 15 or 20 other people had fallen right onto that brick structure that kind of made up the main part of this factory. However, the second they hit that brick structure, began letting out these primal screams. And as they did, these loud popping sounds began coming out of their body. It would turn out this was a glass factory, and in order to make glass, you need to heat sand and some other chemicals up to extraordinarily high temperatures. You need a furnace that can literally burn hotter than lava. That brick structure was a glass furnace. The instant that Charles and the others landed on the top of this furnace, they began to light on fire. A number of people heard the commotion and they came inside, and one of them was Thomas's father. And in a terrible twist of fate, he actually looked up and saw his son clinging to the beam, and his father watched as Thomas lost his grip and fell the 10 more feet down onto the furnace exterior. He immediately ignited on fire, began shrieking, and then went silent. All told, 23 people would be killed during this roof collapse, and dozens more would be horribly injured and disfigured.